Hey everybody, welcome to the final stitch of the Coastal Drift Summer 2025 Lion Brand Mystery Make-Along. So this is a modified Layette stitch. It's going to be pretty short and sweet here. There's only two stitch pattern rows. It's really only one that's staggered, so I'm only going to go over one row because there's a couple rows of stockinette in between and we don't need to watch me do that. So you can see here that you're doing the same thing, they're just offset from each other, just like in our first section where you're doing the knotted open work and they were staggered. We're doing the same thing here, it's staggered. You can see they're a little further apart, so that's where I was saying there's a couple rows of stockinette in between, and we're not going to watch me do that. So you're going to do the same thing, it's just how the row starts. Here you've got I'm in crochet mode, two knit stitches, and then over here you're going to start with the decrease to get the stitches lined up. So we're coming off of the garter stitch section. By now you're going to be in your darkest color, which is deep denim, if you're following the same color changes that I've been doing. So this is a single color section here. In the pattern, I do write out how many row repeats to do. However, it's more important to make it the same length as the first section of your shawl. So if you find that your row gauge is not matching my row gauge and the number of repeats aren't matching the number of repeats that I said to match your first knotted open work section, don't worry about it. Just make the length of this section match your first knotted open work section. That is the point between your garter stitch and where you start that half twisted rib that you're going to be going into after that. All right, so enough of that. So the actual stitch pattern, it's a double decrease framed on either side by a yarn over. So in the stitch pattern, I've used, it says SK2P. That's slip, knit two together, and then pass the slip stitch over. The reason I called it modified layette is because a lot of times you'll see SSSK, a lot of slips. That's slip, 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 knit. So that you'd be slipping several stitches and then you knit them through the back loop. So you'd be knitting like 3 stitches through the back loop, which can get a little tricky. Sometimes it's hard to knit 3 stitches through the back loop. But you can do that variation if you prefer, or you can even knit 3 together. So that would, the SSSK would give you a left lean. The knit 3 together would give you a right lean. And this version that I did in the pattern, the SK2P, kind of has a centered look to it where it kind of flips the stitches over each other. So we have our ribbing back here to frame out this portion of the end of your shawl. So we're gonna work that. Okay. So here we're gonna line up for our first repeat. So we're gonna have knit 2. So the actual stitch part is here. So this is what you're going to be repeating. You go yarn over. Here's the SK2P. It's like we have our own language, right? Slip, knit 2 together, pass the slip stitch over. You got that right there, and then yarn over. There you go. And then you're going to knit 1. It gives you the line for where you're going to line up your next one. And then you do that again. Yarn over, slip, knit 2 together, pass the slip stitch over, and yarn over. So technically this is all part of one thing, the yarn over, the SK2P, and the yarn over. You need both of those yarn overs to balance out that decrease. And then that knit one kind of is separating that repeat so that you can do the next version of that a couple rows later. If you removed those, there's 3 resting rows now. So you, after this, you're gonna do a purl row and then a knit row and then a purl row, and then you're gonna go back into the next version of this row where you're gonna be staggered over. If you removed that extra plain knit row and you just did a purl and then went back into the next pattern row, then this would be called a cell stitch. So, but we're not gonna do that. So here we go, yarn over, SK2, and then there's your P, yarn over, slip, two together, pass, yarn over. So again, this is all about balance. Make sure you're balancing out. I'll bring this up. Let's see if we can do an awkwardly slow stitch again. So we got yarn over, we've got slip, knit 2 together, pass, get stuck, and then yarn over. So there you go, there's your group. So you took 3 and you're back to 3. 1, 2, 3. And then you got the knit one in between. And I think I've got, yeah, I've got, here we go. Yarn over, slip, 2 together, pass, yarn over, and then I'm at the end for this row. So I got knit 2, and then my edge. Okay. So then, like I said, then the next row is just, you got your border, and it would be purl in between, and then you're gonna do a knit row, and then you're gonna purl a row, and then the next patterning row after that is all scrunched up looking down here. Next row after that, the stitch part, that little group of 3 is the same, you're just offsetting it, so they're gonna stagger again. But otherwise, that's it, that's your repeat. So you got a lot of resting rows on this one, and it's gonna come out to make your modified layette, or you just call it a layette lace. There you go. So yeah, that's it. So now you're gonna, after this, you can decide whether you wanna add your fringes or not add your fringes. If you do wanna add your fringes, you might wanna go find a crochet hook to get ready for that. Otherwise, you guys are on the home stretch, you're almost done. I hope you've had a good time, and I hope I see you sometime down the road, another make along, or in another design. Catch y'all later. Bye.